So I think it's too many of y'all out there that be so ready to prove how consistent you can be that you forget that if you're consistently given hold on, it's like I'm in multiple tabs. But if you're consistently given to an ungrateful person, the only thing that's going to consistently happen is you remaining frustrated, you remaining neglected, you remaining upset, angry, and at some point heading towards emptiness because your bucket of love isn't getting poured into. So if you're trying to prove how consistent you can be, how loving, how hard you can go, and you're forgetting that this is supposed to be a two-way street, you're going to consistently feel like you're getting the short end of the stick because you are. And I don't know which one of you out there that are givers and you've always been a giver, but there's a thin line between you being a giver and you being an enabler, you being a carrier of the entire relationship, the entire load of the relationship. If you're a woman or a man listening to this, because this is really gender neutral, it was inspired by a woman that hit me up after my last masterclass, or one of the last ones, the 7 traps an empath must never ignore. And I saw her question, and it kind of upset me, man. I'm not gonna hold you. It upset me because when I'm online, I see the good, bad, and ugly of both men and women. And I see a lot of women these days who, as a response to being taken for granted, are now shifting over to, I'm going to be selfish because that's how they feel like the men in their lives have been. Okay, makes sense. But what really gets to me is whenever I see the few of you who still have that selfless heart, who still have that giving demeanor about yourselves, not protecting that from people who are basically parasites. And this is what I need you to understand. You can have such a clear vision for the relationship and how you're going to show up, how you're going to love on that man, how you're going to do for him, how you're going to make sure that he wants for nothing, that you blind yourself to what you need back in the relationship. And when I told old girl this earlier, because again, like I always take questions after my free master classes. And she asked the question like, okay, Derek, how do I get him to see my value? And it was worded a little bit differently. But I repeated it back to her, like basically that's what you asking me. How do you get him to show this to see your value? Because at this point, you're not seeing any evidence of it. You're doing this and doing that, but you're not being reciprocated. So you're basically asking me not how to do more, not how to communicate. No, you're asking me how to get him to see your value. And whenever a person is taking you for granted, you don't give them more of what they're already wasting. And the part that really pissed me off wasn't necessarily her. It was the fact that there's so few of her still left. And there are guys out there that will take that for granted. Now, that part doesn't surprise me. But the part that kind of frustrates me is like, you have no reason, you have no obligation to go out here and be a martyr as a way to prove how selfless you can be. Matter of fact, if you've ever been in a relationship and you've gotten so gung-ho on how much you love this man and you wanted to show up for this man and you wanted to cook and clean and rub and whatever else he needed, and you got so focused on that at some point you said, hold on, wait, dang, how long has it been since he's done for me? How long has it been since he showed up for me? If you've ever been in that situation or anything similar, where there was just like this light bulb went off, like, man, the way that I'm going for him, he ain't going for me. And it's been a while since I even thought he was. Put I down in the chat. If you've ever been in that situation where you just woke up one day and realized, like, man, all of the thoughtful things I'm doing, all of the considerate things I'm doing, this, that, and the other, I'm not getting that back. It just hit you one day. And the relationship, that almost became like the norm of the relationship, is that you do this, you do that. And I just sent the email to my subscribers like, the gratitude turns into ungratefulness. The excitement turns into entitlement. And it can happen so passively, like you don't even realize it, right up under your nose. Put I down in the chat if you've ever been there. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping and even thinking some of y'all may have been there at some point. Put I down in the chat if you've been. Okay, Lacey, you said you've been there. Let me tell you something. Whenever you're in a relationship with a guy and you're even uncertain as to whether or not he's taking you for granted, first off, that's going to happen because, again, you're so empathetic to what he might be going through, what he might be thinking, what he might be feeling, how he might, whatever it is. Sometimes it's excuses and it's manipulation on his part, but sometimes you're such an empath that you're considering first how he might be feeling and therefore putting aside what you need from him while you just focus on doing more and giving more. That's one reason why it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you how to know that you're actually in a relationship where you're getting taken for granted. Give me just a moment. A lot of times it also happens because that's what you saw. You saw that coming up and you didn't even realize it. Like, this is what I don't like about a lot of the single mom slander. A lot of two-parent households have a single mother in them. A lot of two-parent households have single moms in them. And the mom is doing everything to carry and hold up the family and the marriage that you've seen. And you don't even realize that it's actually lopsided. And so you go and pattern yourself after the woman that you admire and you love, and she loved on you and had your back. But truthfully speaking, even if your dad wasn't a bad guy, you didn't see a true partnership. You saw a woman bending over backwards, breaking herself to make sure the man was good. You know, there were studies done that showed that the two happiest groups of women, or two happiest groups of people, are married men and single women. Those are the groups that have people doing for them the most. It's kind of crazy to consider that, but in the marriage, a lot of women think, well, I'll be happy once I get into marriage. But the thing is, it happens too often that a man simply gets an emotional laborer in the marriage. And a lot of y'all have seen that as your blueprint and said, that's a healthy marriage. My mom, she never let us see her sweat. She never complained. And my dad seemed happy. So I had a great childhood and a great picture of marriage. No, I'm so for gender roles, by the way. I just think one of the gender role aspects for a man should be that it's a partnership, even in a relationship where we paying all the bills. And that ain't even what we're going to talk about. I know that conversation pops up every 3 to 5 business weeks. We ain't going to do that here. But that's one reason why you might be now in a situation where you're being taken for granted. Another thing that you got to be careful about that could lead to this, beyond you just being an empath that's considerate of him or having a blueprint, is subconsciously you're the only one that values what it is both of you said you were after in the end, which is a healthy, whole marriage, family, the vision. A lot of women end up in this situation, and this was her thing, by the way. The sister that hit me up and asked basically how does she get her man to see her value. The problem was, after I asked her some qualifying questions, I realized this. She's the only one that actually cared to get to the finish line of marriage. He talked a good game. He said, oh, yeah, I want something real. I want to be married. I saw marriage. I always wanted to be married. But it was only her putting in the work towards that. So while he's putting in the work, if you will, it ain't even no work. While he's sitting back, kicking back, and just receiving all of her love and her efforts, she's the one actually carrying the wood, hammering the nails. She's the one that's actually building the foundation. So this is how you can end up in that situation. But let me tell you some aspects that let you know that you're in a one-sided relationship. You being burnt out, you being frustrated, that's not on you wanting too much or being unrealistic. That's on the fact that it's really just you in that relationship that's doing any giving. First off, you know that you're in a situation that there's unilateral emotional labor. What that means is it's strictly on you to start the hard conversations. It's strictly on you to establish when you guys are going to truly connect, not have sex. Of course, that's nice, but man can have sex with anybody. But to truly emotionally connect, get to know each other, spend time with each other, quality time with each other, reserve time for one another, be a safe space for one another. If it's strictly on you to do all of those things, he's gotten too comfortable. You're doing too much. You're giving too much. Normally, I wouldn't even advocate for such thing as too much in a relationship because I believe that two people should come together and give their 100%. However, if you're giving 100% and he's giving negative 50%, he's just gaining from you, you're going to run dry. Now you're giving too much. And anything that you give to somebody who's taking that for granted is too much, honestly. While he sits back and watches the flower wither away, says Lacey, no longer flourish and grow. Exactly. Exactly. Another way that you know you're in a relationship where it's really just you by yourself and you're giving too much is if the compromise is one-sided. It's always you compromising your boundaries. Because we all come in with boundaries, expectations, standards. But for the person that we're with, we typically try to let that person be the exception in some way, so long as it's not getting taken, advantage of. But the thing is, if it's one-sided, it is getting taken advantage of. It is getting, you are getting taken advantage of. If you come in and you got standards and boundaries, he got standards and boundaries, but you're the only one that's willing to give a little to make room for him, to give him an opportunity to show that he's not more proof and iteration of why you have those boundaries to begin with, that's a problem. If you always the one changing plans, canceling plans, making more time in your schedule for him, but he ain't doing that for you, that's a problem. That's a problem. If he has no flexibility, rigid, every time you need something for him that goes outside what you guys already discussed or how you normally do things, he got all the rules and regulations for you. But then whenever the shoe is on the other foot, he expects you to drop everything at the drop of a dime. Make all of these compromises. You don't normally do this. You don't normally do that. You're not normally comfortable with this. You're not really sure why you should have to do this, but you're making exceptions for him. He ain't doing it for you. You're doing too much. You're giving too much in a relationship. You're being taken for granted. D, why are you so harsh on men? Why are you so harsh, man? I hear y'all all the time. And I get it. Y'all got such big hearts. Y'all hear me advocating for you. And really, I'm advocating for ourselves. I'm going to be real with you. I'm selfish too. I'm selfish just like everybody else. I'm just smart. I'm smart enough to know that in me being selfish, if I do right by you, as men, if we do right by you, we're going to get better versions of you for us. Like, it's really just being smart. I don't even know if I want to call it selfish no more, but some of y'all got such big hearts, you advocate against yourselves. I get messages, hate messages from everybody, by the way, for telling this truth. But even my sisters out there, and it's all love. D, why are you so harsh on the men? Think about it like this. If you lived off of the land as a man, meaning you got to go out here and you got to grow your own food. Let's just say you're a vegetarian and you don't water your crops. You don't fertilize the soil. You don't till the soil. You don't do anything to it. And I come and I say, hey, bro, you might want to go out there and put some work in on that land. You might want to go out there in that garden, take care of some things, plant the seeds, nurture it. You might want to give it some water, some fertilizer. You might. Just my humble suggestion. Free game. You ain't got to pay me for this. I'm doing it for free. No, man, I'm hungry though. You hungry because you're not fertilizing and nurturing the soil. You got the seed, you got the girl, you got the seed, and then you starved it. It's dried out now. Oh man, why are you being so hard on us? Bruh, are you just want to starve? You want to die of starvation too? That be the thing that be killing me. Like, yo, did they not hear what I'm saying? It's free. I get paid thousands and thousands of dollars to go and speak in real life, to my courses of thousands of dollars. I'm good on that. I give y'all free game regularly because I really want, even those of y'all may, whether you ain't got the money, wherever you at, I just want to reach you wherever you at and give you the game. My brothers out there, if you leave that woman to fight for the relationship by herself, carry the relationship by herself, you're hurting you. You hurting you. You think you're being selfish. You're really just being stupid. Shoot the messenger all they want to. It's all good. Another way that you know that you're in a situation where you're being taken for granted. And again, this goes for men and women, but it was a woman that inspired us. So I'm going to talk mostly to women. If there's inconsistent gratitude, let me tell you something. Saying thank you it don't cost nothing. Being appreciative don't cost nothing. I was watching some couple online. Matter of fact, I do know their name. I don't even want to say it though. I don't even want to call them out. But the woman does this thing where she cooks for her man on the regular. And it's like, that's her little thing. She cooks for him, cooks for him, cooks for him. Some of y'all may know who I'm talking about. She was cooking for him one day, brought him the food. He came and sat down at the table, brought him, or the food was already there. So he sat down at the table to eat. And she says, "You want something to drink?" He's like, "Yeah." Went back to eating. And she said something, "I didn't know if you wanted some water or if you wanted some juice." And he didn't say nothing back until he just was like, "Hurry up." And I was like, what kind of way is that to talk to your lady? I'm not saying like, be perfect and constantly roll out the red carpet, although maybe you should. But at that point, I was like, that's on camera. So that's what they showing us. But that's actually what happens behind the scenes with a lot of people, that demeanor. Like, you got a woman that cook for you, that'll ask you and inquire if you need something to drink when you got two good legs, two good hands, you go get your own drink if you don't see it on the table. And you can't even say, "Thank you, I appreciate you. This tastes good," nothing. Just hurry up. Anytime you get to that space, again, it's gone from excitement to entitlement. It's gone from gratitude to ungratefulness. Because at some point, I'm sure in the beginning, you didn't have no problem doing for this guy. This is your dude. This is your babe. This is your king, whatever you want to call him. So at some point, he earned the ability for you to put out like that. But at whatever point, his whole demeanor changed to where even verbally, he couldn't say thank you on a regular basis. He's gotten too familiar. He's gotten complacent. You're going over and beyond to show your love and your support, whether through words of affirmation, acts of service, whatever it is that you do. And he can't even say or express that he appreciates it. That means it's kind of become background noise to him. And when something becomes background noise, there's nothing we really want to do to listen. We may benefit or whatever. We let it stay on, but we're not really taking it in. And so what happens in that situation as a woman, and maybe some of y'all have been there, you going hard, like it seems like a dangling carrot, like a moving goalpost. The more you do, the more he wants from you that you're not doing. And then the things that you are doing seem to get swept under the rug as if they really are meaningless. It's like at one point, all the things that you're doing that he don't even say thank you for was something he wasn't even getting in his previous relationships, or he was asking you for, said that he would really appreciate if you did for him. And so now it feels like no matter what you do, it's never enough. Even if you can acknowledge the things that he's asking for are important and you wouldn't mind giving it to him, but he ain't even thankful for the things you do that a lot of times you might not even want to do. Y'all understand how many situations a woman may end up in where she's tired, she's frustrated, she's spent and burnt out from the day. She wants to have her feet rubbed. She wants to have her back rubbed. She wants to have her clothes laid out for work the next day. She wants to have her meal prepared on the table. How many times that happens and you still show up for his needs, even though he's not showing up for yours? Because the moment that you pull back and say, you know what, I'm gonna just kind of fall back, then all of a sudden it's tit for tat. Then all of a sudden, why you falling off? Then all of a sudden you inconsistent. Like it's a matter of, like you said, thankful and respect, especially being like that in the public eye is disrespect. It's a matter of respect. You can go out here to a complete stranger. They do something nice for you. You're going to say thank you. Y'all be sitting right up there with somebody that claim to love you, and they don't even act like they like you. They don't even pretend they like you. Beyond saying thank you, I'm going to say that you're in a one-sided relationship and you're doing way too much for this person. If even the attentiveness is one-sided, even the space made to just hear you out or hear one another out, even the attentiveness is one-sided. The remembering of birthdays, important days, accomplishments is one-sided. There's all this consideration for whatever it is he got coming up. There's all this pre-planning and everything else, but for him, all you get is excuses as to why. As a man, I just, I'm not that attentive to detail. I just, as a man, I forget sometimes. I got a lot of stuff going on. You're in a one-sided relationship. I'm really giving y'all the key as to why so many of you get burned out. Let me tell you this. A lot of men think, oh, these women out here, they want perfection. It's like, nah, she don't want perfection, bro. She want reciprocity. She don't want perfection. But if she show up for you, if she's loyal to you, if she's honest with you, if she communicates with you, if she considers you. She just wants reciprocity. A lot of y'all just want a you. It's like if you could be with a you in a man form to an extent, you know, of course, him being masculine, you being feminine, but just a you would be happy. You're not asking for this guy to be the movie star, action hero, billionaire. You're just like, dang, can I get a mirror reflection of the effort I give? That would be good. But you can't even get that in terms of attentiveness. And all you get is excuses while the requirements on you continue. Still do for me, still cook for me, still clean, still be safe, still watch your tone. While I'm sitting here burning you out, making you mad, frustrating you, forgetting all about you, still watch your tone as you express what it is. That's why you burnt out, sis. You sitting there like, oh, I'm getting tired of this, I'm getting tired of that. And now you ain't got nobody else to talk to but your homegirls about it or social media about it because you got a man that don't even listen. It's too uncomfortable. It's too inconvenient for him to even hear you out on how he's failing you and coming up short on what he promised to do for you and give you. Say you've been through all of these things and you only been in 2 relationships all your life. You was badly hurt by those 2 men. Right now, you're just trusting God to work your life out. Let me tell you this. You reap what you sow. Unless you were an ungrateful POS. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Unless you're with somebody who's ungrateful and taking you for granted. You see, I'll never contrary or go conflict with the word of God. But I believe that in the word of God, there's different interpretations. It's pregnant, meaning there are multiple things you can take from something. And you reap what you sow. There's context to it. That don't apply to the person that ain't reciprocating your energy. You can sow all day. You're not going to reap nothing but continued ungratefulness, but continued disrespect. So when you say, I'm trusting God to work my life out, sis, I'm all with you. Vilma, I'm all with you. But here's the thing. God cannot bless you if you're continuing to stay connected to blessing blockers. I'm humbly saying this. God cannot have all of this grace and have all of these things that he wants you to have while you're continuing to entertain blessing blockers. Another way that you know that you're in an ungrateful or a situation where you're doing too much with somebody who's gotten entitled is if you are always the emotional anchor. You're always the one absorbing his emotions from the day. He don't make no capacity for you. But you're always having to overextend and cover for his insecurities. Go over and beyond so that his mind don't wander. Meanwhile, he won't even be transparent at a minimal level. So you don't have to overthink. But if you find yourself consistently providing that emotional support and doing all these things, look, you are the emotional anchor. You're overextending yourself. And it's like without that reciprocity, I think a lot of y'all get caught up in not trying to allow it to become tit for tat, not trying to allow it to become like a thing where you're tallying up what he's doing for you. You ain't got to tally it up. Your heart is going to tally it up. That's the thing. Your heart is going to tally it up. So if you sitting there trying to self-impose this shame and this guilt for you having needs in a relationship, needs that he said he was going to meet or tried to give you the impression that he would, when it was time to hook you, when it was time to get your attention, when it was time to pull you off the market. You're working against yourself, sis. And I know to an extent I may be preaching to the choir, but there's somebody out there who either right now or at some point in the past has been so inundated with their idea and their version and their framework, or a framework of a relationship and how they can show up. Like you've always thought about the ways in which you want to just blow your man away and knock him off his feet and make him feel like he's the luckiest man in the world to have a woman like you. And then when it's time to be in a relationship, you're just so focused on executing that you forget that the prize needs a prize too. The prize needs a prize too. It can't be all you giving. Meanwhile, he just sit back and receiving. And let me tell you, there's one group of people that's going to struggle with this more than anybody else. Empaths. Those of you out there, you empaths out there who always think of everybody else before yourself, you're the first ones to become a martyr for this vision of love that you never truly got to the degree that you deserved it. Empaths out there, you've never truly gotten the support, the protection, the consideration that you deserve. That's a lot of times what creates an empath. That childhood or that space in your young adulthood to maybe even adulthood, where you didn't get the love and appreciation and the backing and the consideration, and you were invisible for a time in your life. And now you have such a heart for people that may be in that situation. You have such a conviction against ever being a part of that problem. See, I gave and gave until I realized I had nothing left for me. I even lost myself. That's exactly what happens as an empath when you do not know the traps to look out for. And for every empath out there, I'm not trying to spook you. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm your big brother. I give you free game all the time. This is more of it. You are a target. I know it's confusing because it's like, why would anybody target me? Why would anybody not want to just love on me? Why is it so difficult to just get what I give out so freely? There's a target. There's people out here who do not have the same value system as you. And with that being said, even though I know a lot of y'all just trusting God right now and this, that, and the other, but God is also giving you a lot of resources and the ability to guard your heart. That's one of the things that he tells you. But to guard your heart, you got to know what you're guarding your heart from. Now, I'm not going to go too far in depth with how you need to guard your heart if you're an empath, but if you want to know that, if you are an empath, I highly encourage you to click the link that you see pinned at the bottom. If you're on Facebook, it should be at the bottom. If you're on YouTube, it may be at the top or something like that. Just find the link wherever you see it. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. But I did a masterclass, a free masterclass called The 7 Traps an Empath Should Never Ignore. 7 traps that empath should never ignore. It's at the bottom if you're on Facebook. So I became an empath because I was so neglected my whole life, and it set me up for more neglect. Exactly. And there's 7 primary traps I've seen over the last decade. I've been doing this now for 12 years. So a little over a decade that I've been seeing empathic women get caught in over and over again. And what happens is you end up missing out on your blessing. Either you lose hope in relationships, you lose your position to receive a man who's actually ready for a relationship. Because if you're a good woman, you're going to have a good man that's going to recognize you at some point. But if you're not in the right position, it's just like a good man who's not in the right season of his life. You're not going to be ready. And so you have to be very mindful again for like an hour. That was free game I gave on that masterclass. So if you want to get access to it before it comes down, click the link that you see pinned wherever you see it pinned. Maybe it's in the comments or something like that, or it'll be in the description after we get done here. But moral of the story is this. Once his excitement, once his gratitude, once his expressed appreciation turns into ungratefulness, it's time to cut it. Time waits on no man. Neither does a good woman's love for that man to wake up and appreciate what he has before he loses it. But those are just my thoughts. I'm your internet brother trying to look out for you per usual. And if you got anything from this, if anything that I said was truthful, be a vessel of that truth by hitting the share button. So somebody else in your timeline can get blessed the same way that you got blessed. And if you did not catch my free masterclass, the 7 traps an empath must never ignore, I guarantee you're going to be glad that you did, and you're going to regret it if you don't catch it before it comes down for good. It's at the link right here, so you can't say I didn't tell you. You know I don't gatekeep, and it's, again, absolutely free. Free game for those who take themselves that serious. The link is right here, also at the top, depending on where you at. Holla at you, lady. I'll be good. Peace.